So our agenda for today, we're going to be talking about kind of a little bit of the background for climate literacy in this district, and then we're going to talk about the approach that we're taking, right? Because the climate literacy resolution, which I'll talk about in a second, calls for climate literacy to be taught in all subject areas. And how do we do that? Do we then say, okay, during your language arts block, you have to do a minute or 10 minutes of climate literacy, a week, no, that's not going to work, right? And so the approach that we're taking, is a very, it's something that STEAM has been taking before. And again, it's hopefully something that will really make this real for our students. Then we're going to talk about the role of climate literacy champions, and that's you all. Okay. And again, the work that you all are doing at your school sites. I know many of you have already started, and you can document all of that on your log once you get it, because that log is for the entire semester. So everything that you've done, this semester. And then finally, the differential requirement. Again, I want to make sure that our champions, the ones who do the work, get the pay. And again, last year, the funding, we send the funding to the school site. And the reason we do that is because this is a differential and it was set up as a differential. And because of that, if I pay you directly, there's multiple hurdles and it could delay things. However, if I give the funding to the school site really early, the only thing you have to do is get a quick signature from your principal, who then could tell, your time reporter, hey, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, our climate literacy champion, has completed their work. Please pay them the differential, right? And so that's been what we found to be the most effective and efficient way of making sure everybody gets paid. Doesn't mean it's perfect. And there are, we do run into issues, but again, I'm always available through email. Just, let me know what's going on, come to our office hours and so forth. Okay. But one thing though is I will say if you do have an issue with the differential, please make sure you take care of that before the school year ends, because on June 30th, there's all our money for that year is taken away. And then we get a new pot of money, which we're not allowed to use for anything else other than that year, right? All right, so that's kind of what we're going to be covering today. So going over it quickly, again, the board resolution you can see here passed in February 2022. And again, it called for climate literacy to be, taught across all grade levels and curricula. And interestingly, it was originally called out for, basically elementary through high school. However, last year we added our early education preschools as well as our adult schools. And we've seen some amazing things from the champions at those different, school sites. The board resolution also calls for outdoor education. We'll be talking more about that too. But again, LAUSD is a huge, 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 district. It's the second largest in the world. Sorry, it's the second largest in the country. And as such, we have a lot of different departments, right, and different offices. And so outdoor education is handled by somebody else, but we do kind of touch upon it in terms of curriculum. And then we have our task force, which we'll talk about more later. That is, you'll see on some of these documents that, they ask you that, they require that champions attend it. But again, the MOU between LAUSD and UTLA has kind of changed that a little bit. So don't worry about having to attend the task force meetings. Climate literacy champions. So the board resolution specifically called for climate literacy champions, okay, to be at every school. It doesn't mandate that it has to be at every school, but it does, say that every school has the opportunity to have a climate literacy champion. And then, so again, that LAUSD UTLA MOU signed, again, this was part of our contract, our labor contract, last year, that then also, provided, the district employees with a significant raise, but also that interestingly included an MOU specific to climate literacy. And so it kind of further defined the the task of the climate literacy force, as well as task force, as well as the makeup of that climate literacy task force. Okay. And it also, talked about the Chief Eco-Sustainability Officer, which we now have, and we have an actual office of eco-sustainability, and we'll learn more about that this year. Climate literacy champions. This one, gave a great more detail as to what climate literacy champions are and what they can do at the school sites. Okay. All right. So the approach, what is the approach that we're taking? How do we then integrate climate literacy into all subject areas? And so rather than trying to take climate literacy and place it into the current, programs for all these different subjects, what we're doing is we're taking a little bit different approach. But the key kind of principle behind that approach comes from this quote, tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. This has become one of my favorite quotes. Because again, I learned that way. You tell me something, good luck. I forgot it 10 seconds later, especially names. I'm sorry. My brain just does not have the capacity to learn names unless I've heard it many, 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 many times. Teach me and I may remember. And again, my thinking when I was a teacher, first year teacher, at the beginning, my first years of teaching, I thought my job was to take what I know in my brain and transfer as much of that to my students as possible. And I've learned over the years that that's not the most efficient or effective way of helping our students to learn, right? And so instead, what we're seeing is when kids are involved, they're not, the information isn't pointed at them, but they're using the information, the learning and the skills, and they're using it to accomplish something else. Okay. Then we've seen kids, just light up and, they're so involved and it's not like, okay, I have to do this and I have to learn this. It's like, wow, this is really interesting. This is something that I really care about. What more can I do? Right. And we've seen this in classrooms where this shift that happens. All right. So the approach that we're taking, the kind of like the pedagogy that we're taking is a real world problem-based transdisciplinary learning approach. So real world, again, ready for the world. We need to in order to be ready for the world, our students need to experience the world now in the classroom in a safe way, right? And so how do we do that? We bring in what the students care about in their neighborhoods, what they see in their neighborhoods, the concerns that they have, and then bring that into the classroom where they can not just learn about it, because we actually got a PD from our SEL department last year, and we're going to have another one this year. I'm working with our new person right now, and basically, it was focused on how eco-anxiety comes about when students just learn about, or even teachers, just learn about the problem. But if we give students an opportunity to actually be involved with this and to contribute to the solution to these real world problems, then instead of becoming anxious, our students become empowered. And it's just amazing to see that again happening. And so the next time they hear on media or news, this global issue is happening, instead of being defeated, they feel like, wow, okay, no, this is interesting. This is unfortunate, but let me add it. I think I can, contribute to this problem, and I can help to solve it. And imagine a generation of students, leaving our schools, our LAUSD schools, with this kind of mentality. Imagine what they can do when they actually do enter the real world. Problem-based learning. So it's a little bit different than project-based learning, because in the past, again, lately PBL has been changing a bit, but in the past, project-based learning, a lot of times it was the teacher comes into the classroom and says, everybody, we're going to work on this problem. It might be a real world problem. It might be something that's really relevant, but the teacher is the one who's kind of giving that problem to the kids. And then the teacher would tell them, okay, everybody, we're going to all create this one project. You're going to work on this one project. You're all going to build a better, whatever, right? To help solve this problem. But they're all kind of really building the same thing. So it's very narrow. And so what we're doing here is we're starting with the problem and then allowing the projects and, everything else kind of develop from that. And the students are the ones who are deciding on what kind of projects they're going to take. Transdisciplinary, this is the term I got from cohort one of the human resources STEAM micro-credential program, and that I was a part of many years ago. And again, I highly recommend that you take part in that because I know I learned a lot from it. And transdisciplinary was one of the things that really stuck with me. And it's where, again, traditionally in schools, again, in education all throughout the world, it seems a lot, well, not everywhere, but a lot of times, very formal education is about subject matter, right? And so you learn the subject and you learn the standards, connected to that subject, right? And the end goal is to become better at that subject. Well, with transdisciplinary, the focus kind of shifts. So the focus is not the subjects, but rather it's using those subject area knowledge and skills as tools for students to accomplish something that they care about, where they're designing solutions to real world complex problems. And when you do that, then kids have context for the content that they're learning. And again, very important is, again, we're shifting the verb that's happening in the classroom from teaching, which is always about the teacher and what the teacher is doing, to learning. And again, I think ideally, I mean, teaching is, no matter what, it's going to be hard work. But again, in this kind of a approach, when we go into a classroom, what we like to see is students, just like thinking, like, just working so hard, and they're just all focused, and you can see that their brains are hurting, as my students used to tell me, you know, instead of the teacher doing all the work, right? And in fact, some of the STEAM certification schools that we went to, the ones that passed, interestingly, what happened is at the beginning, we saw, well, we walked into the classroom during our validation visit and we were like, okay, this is nice, but this is not anything different than any other LAUSD classroom. So it's not really, STEAM. So we can't certify it yet. So, but then we give them feedback and then we come back. And the second time we come, what's interesting is we see teachers who are so passionate, they're working hard, they're teaching, they have their PowerPoints and their slides, they're doing all the work. But then we look at the kids and they're just kind of like, ho hum, and they're not, they're paying attention, but that's about it. And then so we then tell them again, thank you, this is, we see a lot of significant improvement. However, this, we need to shift this. And so, we give them feedback. And then the third time we go, and it's been interesting, amazing to see this, where we come into the classroom and we're like, where's the teacher? We can't even find the teacher because the teacher is sitting in a corner somewhere with, with a group of students and they're just working on something when all the other students are working on their projects and they're just like deeply engaged in it. And then one group will even tell us, one, student or a small group will come up and say, hey, mister, come over here. Basically they tell us you can't leave the classroom until, they can share with me, how they're going to solve the great garbage patch, in the Pacific Ocean. Right. And they have, their designs, their engineering designs, or their coding, projects that they have. And so they're explaining it. But again, they're so passionate about this, and so it's, shifting that work from the mental load from the teacher to the student and having them, do all of the heavy lifting, critical thinking wise, right? And the teacher there is then to facilitate student learning, right? And to give students opportunities to be able to apply their learning. Doesn't mean we're getting rid of, the ELA block or math block or anything like that. We're just saying that, throughout the semester or throughout the year, give students opportunities to apply their learning so that they're not asking, teacher, why do I need to learn this? But rather they're like, oh, you know what? Now I know I need to use what I learned a few months ago for this project that I created and that I designed, but I can't remember it. And then they might come back to you and say, can you help me? Can you help me remember what we learned? Right? Because it's something that now that learning matters to them. It's something that it's again a tool for them to use. All right. So why real world problems? And this all came from the summer PD that we had, the Division of Instruction held. And again, it was focusing on why real world problems. And what we find is that when you start with a real world problem, students develop empathy, and it's not just an emotional empathy, but they develop cognitive empathy, where they have to, in order to design solutions for a population of people, they need to take themselves out of their own perspective and shift mentally and in their brain to a different perspective. And that is an incredibly rigorous task. Okay. And again, the rigor is there. And the rigor is there because, what I've been realizing is that the answer key is, there is a rigor killer, right? If there's an answer key, rigor goes down, right? Because it's one right answer. However, with real world problems, when the kids are working on climate change in the classroom and they're using all the subject areas to do this, then the teacher does not hold the answer key to climate change, right? And so rigor goes up. Student cultures and assets, because all of this is coming from the students and if students are using their talents and skills as well to do this, it truly appreciates who they are. And then again, all of this, ultimately, in the past, I always thought that engagement was the highest, the pinnacle of where my students need to be. But I'm realizing now that it's not. It's empowerment. And if our students are empowered to realize that, hey, I can make a difference, little me in kindergarten can make a difference in a global issue, something that I care about, and even in a small way, they're making a small contribution, then they're empowered, and then they're engaged, and then they learn, right? So that real world problem-based learning, we are connecting the Sustainable Development Goals with this, okay? Because what we found in STEAM is that, and ITI is doing this as well, which is amazing. And we're seeing UN goals, which I never even heard about, before I was in STEAM, here, I was like, UN goals, what's that? But then when we learned about it, we realized, wow, these 17 goals that the UN has recently developed, and they cover the vast majority of the problems our students are going to experience and see in their community and beyond. So let me just share with you a little video. I hope you're able to hear the audio. I think I'm pretty sure I set it for that. But again, it just covers, the basics of the Sustainable Development Goals, and it shows you what that looks like, with students actually doing something. All right.
Hello? Hello? Are you there? I was just saying that we have to use our creative superpowers to achieve the United Nations global goals. How? Although the Earth is just a tiny speck in space, it seems enormous to us when we're on it. The global goals can seem huge too. But if you focus on fixing the things where you live, you can make a big difference. There are 3 ways you can help. You can invent, innovate, and campaign. So buckle up and let's take a lightning flight around the world to see what young people are doing already. First stop is Istanbul in Turkey, where we meet Elif. She's an inventor. Like many big cities, there's a lot of pollution in Istanbul. Some caused by petroleum-based plastics. Elif wasn't happy about that and wondered what she could do. So she invented a new natural plastic made from banana skins. No, seriously. It's cheap, easy to recycle, and you can make it in your own kitchen. And if you like banana desserts, you can't really lose. Unless you eat too much. You can be an innovator, be creative, and think about how to improve the way we live. Take urban creators in North Philadelphia. This amazing group of teenagers reclaimed derelict land in a dangerous, run-down neighbourhood. They built a thriving farm where they grow fresh food and now supply hundreds of local homes and restaurants. Life Do Grow Farm has transformed the community and made it healthier and safer for everyone. Young inventors, innovators and campaigners everywhere are changing the world for good. And so can you. You just need to care, get creative and collaborate. If we all do that, by 2030 we can really make the global goals a reality. I'm just saying.
All right. So again, just a little glimpse of how students have used these goals and how they've actually contributed to these goals. And again, you can see in all the different ways that they've solved it, they're using science, they're using ELA, they're using history, social studies, they're using all of the different subject areas and beyond and more, technology, everything to contribute to these global goals. All right, so now moving on to the role of climate literacy champions. And so again, part of, before it's not in here, but I wanted to just kind of cover it. But one of the things is, again, the climate literacy champion acts as a liaison between the Division of Instruction and, again, central office, Eco Sustainability Office, I think in the resolution or in, in the MOU, it also states that they're kind of like the liaison between the task force, which again, has been changed a little bit, and the school site. But basically, we're asking you as one of your, kind of basic duties as a climate literacy champion is to share all the information that we share with you. When you see a flyer for a PD, and we have some amazing PDs coming up, and they're being posted on the Climate Literacy Schoology group. Number one, I'm going to show you later, but again, share that access code with all your teachers, the school site. And then number two, when you see a flyer, share it with your staff. Okay. All right. And so here you can see in the resolution, it specifically calls out that that somebody at the staff member at the school site be designated as a climate literacy champion. And again, the focus is, again, it says it right there, but the focus is not climate change. You're not climate change champion. Okay, we know this is climate literacy. What's the difference? Well, the facilities and transportation, food services, they work on the district's sustainability efforts and to contribute to to reducing the effects of climate change as a district, right? But that, as teachers, as educators, through the Division of Instruction, that's not our goal. Our goal is to prepare our students, to give them a mindset to be prepared for a world where most likely this generation is not going to solve climate change or all these other global issues. So then therefore, our students, we need to prepare them so that they can, mitigate these problems, or they can possibly even come up with solutions, right? So here is again the MOU that UTLA has with LIUSD, and again it calls out specifically some of the basic things that climate literacy champions can do at the school site. Okay, and you can see on D right there, we have promote the use of the climate literacy curricula Schoology group, which is the climate literacy Schoology group that I shared with you all. Okay, and I'm going to share again. So again, this kind of guides you, but it's not defining the entirety of climate literacy champions. Again, if you talk to climate literacy champions who have done this for a year or two, they've done some amazing things that go far beyond what's listed here. All right. So the differential requirement, okay. This is the climate excuse me. This is the Climate Literacy Schoology group. Okay. And again, one of the first tasks is to really, again, uh, share this group with everybody in your school, right? Your principal should join, APs, teachers, anybody who has district LAUSD district access to to Schoology can join this group. And once they're there, they can see all the various resources that are available to them. And as you can see here, I highly recommend that everybody, especially the champions, definitely click on notifications once you're in this group and make sure all of these are turned on so that you get an email when new things are posted. So you can always stay up to date. Okay. Um, and then so if you see here in this course, you can see right there, this is the access code here. But again, rather than sharing the access code, share this entire hyperlink. And if you just copy that and paste it in an email, paste it into your Schoology group, all they have to do is make sure that they're logged into Schoology with their LAUSD single sign-on, of course. And if they are, they just have to click on that hyperlink and it'll take them directly to the join Schoology, group page with the access code pre-populated. All they have to do is click join group. Okay, it makes it very, very easy. And then also, as you can see here, in this Schoology group, you're going to see a little calendar here. All of the current ones that are coming up are listed here for you. But again, for PDs, and these are not PDs that are specific to champions. Like you will not find the actually, no, sorry. This is the Climate Literacy Champions Schoology group. Okay, sorry. But in the previous one here, in this one, you'll see a list of all the PDs that are available that's open to everybody and any other dates for events that all LAUSD staff can join. Okay. However, in this one, which again, every champion, you don't have to join it. By next week, I am going to have all of you directly added to this group, which really simplifies a lot of things, for everybody. And so you will be added to this group automatically. Okay. So it's a little bit different than what we did last year. Last year, I gave everybody the access code. And again, it took a little bit, it took a little longer to get everybody in it, and it was a little bit more complicated. So I'm trying to streamline things as much as possible. And so you will be automatically added to this. And the reason also is because this group, I've got it restricted, the access restricted to only allow people that I invite, right, or I approve. And the reason is because this is specifically tied to the log that you are being assigned. And so I don't want anybody else in this group. It's not for general public. It's not for even principals, really. This is specifically for you. The log itself, that once it's assigned, and I'll explain all this later, but again, it's a Google Doc. And so then you can share that Google Doc with your principal to let them know what's going on. However, the group is specifically for champions. And so this one, the calendar will have specific meetings for the Climate Literacy Schoology champions. All right, and then
Jerry, could I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
What are the two different names of those two different groups? One for us and one we should be encouraging our staff to join? Just the names.
Right. Thank you. It's right up here. And it's basically, if you look up here, it says LAUSD Climate Literacy, and it's a group. So the group is for everybody. But the one that is a course and it has the word champions in it is only for champions. Okay. So I'm not really even going to share the access code with you on this one. For this group, you're only getting the access code to the Schoology group. And so you probably won't be able to even invite anybody, but even if anybody tries, I get a request to, do you want to approve this person to join, right? And so because again, this is tied to your differential, I want to make sure that everything is secure and it's only for champions. So every year, if you do this again next year, which I hope all of you do, every year you'll get added to a new Schoology course in a section for this, for that next year. Okay. And for those of you who are champions, who were champions last year, if you're wondering what happened to you last year's climate literacy course, this is set to kind of expire it's only set for 1 year, school year. However, all of that information doesn't get lost. If you want to find it, you just go to Schoology, click on course, my courses, and then just click on archived courses. And then you'll see all the courses from the past that were archived, and last year's course will be there for you. And again, the same thing for this course. That's the same thing that's going to happen next time. And then, the important the log, right? And again, this log is not for, just for the division of instruction. Please, think when you look at this log, don't look at it from the perspective of a teacher. Don't look at it from the perspective of even an LAUSD employee of any kind, administrator, nothing. This log is required, for audits, okay? And so all of our funding comes from, the federal or state government. And because of that, we will get audited. We absolutely will get audited. And what the auditors do is they'll come in and they'll select, like a small group of, teachers. And we've had this happen to our climate literacy, STEAM collaborative teacher. They don't contact us. They only contacted the teacher and said, oh, you've been selected for this audit, and we're looking at your, log or your whatever payroll thing. And we were wondering, can you give us some, explanation about this one item, right? Or something like that. And then, again, for this person, thankfully, she had all her documentation, she did all the work, and she had all the, the artifacts, which, for last year's champions, you know what that is. And it was really easy for them to just kind of share that, right? And then it was just, here you go. And then the auditors would say, thank you very much, goodbye. And that's my ultimate goal, is if by any chance any one of you get audited, that, you can go back to this log and you can just make sure that everything is there. And, again, it just gets done. It gets passed very quickly. And I'm going to, I will tell you though, I have simplified it a little bit because I know technology, everybody is not, we're not all techies. And so to simplify it, one thing that I have changed is, and I've asked, if this is something that, I can do, instead of linking all the artifacts directly on here, basically you'll see on here, right here, important, please keep a record of artifacts for each entry that provide evidence of the work done in case of audits. So you don't need to link everything on here. If you want to, please do. If I were you, I would probably still, link everything here, and just, click, just hyperlink it to the actual documents and to all the, to the actual artifacts. But again, you don't have to do that. But you are required to then store all of those one way or another, whether it's on Google Drive, which I highly recommend, or, and some people might just prefer paper, they have a file cabinet. And if you want to keep it in your file cabinet, that's fine. But just make sure you have it, okay, available. Because again, the last thing I want to happen is auditors to say, you know what, you're not giving us enough evidence, so we're taking your differential away. And that's the only reason I'm going to hark on all of this, because I don't want that to happen, okay? So again, this log will be assigned to every champion in the Schoology course that's specifically for champions. It says champions in the course title twice. And so basically, again, just please, fill out the log. I've made it a little bit, I've streamlined it a little bit, like I said, in multiple ways. We see here allowable entry. You can click on it and it gives you already an idea of what are some things you can put on here, right? And you'll see here, climate literacy PD attendance, climate, literacy PD, that you developed yourself. Okay, all of these are explained later in another document. Curriculum development, if you design a lesson and it's something for your class, even, let's say you're doing a climate literacy lesson in your class or a unit, again, hopefully utilizing that real world problem based transdisciplinary learning approach, then and then you share that with the other grade level teachers. The time that you take to develop that's done outside of work hours, or any other district paid time, you can log that, okay? And it'll count towards the minimum of 15 hours. You can see here, the minimum 15 hours to get the differential. Now it says here must be 15 hours or greater. So if you want to add more, you're more than free to do it. And I know champions last year, some champions put a lot of hours on here, and I feel bad because I wish I could pay you more for this. But you can always, add more rows to this, and then you can just have this continue on, okay? So all of this, again, is going to be in the Climate Literacy Champions Schoology course. And again, during office hours, if you have any questions, please come by, and I can walk you through anything that that you need help with, okay? So once you're done with all of this, and let's say come, December, 9th to 13th that week, you're done and you completed your 15 hours. And then what you do, and you can do it earlier too if you completed the 15 hours, print this out, take it to your principal, make sure you sign it and date it, but then take it to your principal and then just ask them to sign and date it, right? And again, like I said earlier, once they sign and date it, the funding will already be at the school sites to pay you. So then all they have to do is turn around and ask the time reporter, the SAA, whoever does the time reporting at your school site, please pay this champion their full, and please keep in mind it's 100%, of the differential for that semester, which should be $900, ultimately, right? A little bit more than that because there's other benefits and everything else involved. But again, you get $900, and make sure that your SAA and time reporter knows that it's 100% of that differential, because I give you only that differential for one semester. And so you get 100% of that differential. Next semester, the schools will get another allocation. And so then they will pay you 100% of that allocation, okay? And then please, please, please keep a copy of this signed document. Ideally what I would do is, again, all our Toshiba, copiers are, all of them should be connected to the internet, and you can actually scan this and email it to yourself. And then that way you have a digital copy that you can keep and archive in your climate literacy, in your Google Drive folder labeled climate literacy, right? All right. And then, so on this document, okay, it's when you receive it, it'll be a 4-page document, 2 pages for the log. And then the last 2 pages will be the guide, which explains to you, okay, all the different terms inside this log. And so it kind of gives you a little bit more explanation. If you need more than that, email me or join us at the office hours, okay? And then finally, this periodic certification. This will make your time reporter happy because you'll have it ready for them and they don't have to worry about it. Okay, so when schools pay their staff, they need to do a periodic certification. And so basically, you're just going to fill this out. I've made it all, it's like a full form that you can just type in your name, type in your information. And then once you've done that, basically, you can print it out for your principal to sign. And then, again, another piece of paperwork done that nobody else has to worry about, right? Okay, so I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna actually go to the live versions of all this, okay? And so let me start with, let's see. Okay, let me start with the Climate Literacy Schoology group, okay? Again, this is a group. If you click on the group tab, you'll see it right here, LAUSD Climate Literacy. Okay, and so in here, again, this is the same one that's been around for the last 3 years, and hopefully as long as we have Schoology and as long as we have climate literacy, we will be, this group will be the same group. Okay, so you won't have to rejoin it, but if you haven't, if you're new, or if you want to share that link with somebody, then again, please do. All right, so here you get updates. Okay, and please take a look at all these updates. All right, again, if you have the notifications turned on, okay, then you will get this via email. And I've made it so that these images here, before I embedded the PDF, but I found out that when you get the notification, the PDF doesn't show up. And so now I'm just embedding them as images. So ideally, you are getting an email with the image embedded, okay? The attachments and everything, you have to come into the Schoology group to get it, but you can always, get the actual PDF version of it, and you can download it, and then you can share it with your staff, let everybody know that we have this amazing PD coming up with that. We've partnered with the Broad Museum, and they've actually reached out to me a while back and said, "Hey, Jerry, we're doing this, social forest, climate literacy, indigenous people, exhibit, and we're doing something very unique that we've never done before, which is actually developing curriculum that goes along with it." And I was extremely excited. And so, they asked me for feedback, and I can just, work with them on this as well as the Office of Eco-Sustainability, Sylvia Talamera, which you may all know. And then, so again, this is an exciting, project, the Broad, and I'm hoping more museums do this because there are other museums who have these exhibits. But again, if they don't have the curriculum, I don't necessarily share all of it. Depends. But again, this exhibit is going to call it. Actually, what's great is if you go into the Schoology resources, it's all there. Okay, everything, the curriculum is all there. They've already launched it. It's on their website. I've already shared a flyer for it, their flyer for it. And if you go under Climate Literacy Classroom Learning Resources and click on that, you'll see it right there. And, please take a look at the video. It introduces the curriculum for you, but inside here, you have everything available here. So here's the launch flyer, which I posted earlier. And then the website, which has more information. But each of these, again, they're set up because in a group, you can share this. You can use everything that's in a group and put it into your own Schoology course or your school Schoology group by clicking on the little gear, and you can do add to course, and then that goes directly to a course that you have, again, with your students. If you want to assign it, you can do it that way. Or copy to, in which case then you can copy it to another Schoology group, such as your staff Schoology group. And each of these are, the way I've kind of embedded them is it's a page, and it has the slide deck embedded right here. And you can see, watch this video. I love this video, but I'm not going to share it right now. But again, each of these, videos, they also come with additional handouts, which they're all linked here. You can just click on them to download them. You can also create a duplicate of this presentation. And when you do that, then it's, your copy, and you can modify it to meet the specific needs of your classroom, okay? So again, all of these different things, please share them with your staff. Let them know that these are available for them, okay? Especially if I think this is more geared for secondary, but I think a lot of it can be kind of modified to use in elementary. However, again, if you have a history social studies teacher at your school who is maybe working with doing a unit, they're going to do a unit with regarding the Tongva tribe. Then again, maybe they'd be interested in kind of utilizing this. And again, then we're integrating climate literacy into history social studies, right? We also have some amazing, again, new other PDs that are coming up. By the way, the PD that's in the updates, this is a PD that the Broad Museum is going to provide us to give an overview of that curriculum. But I am also working with an organization called A26LA, and A26LA is this amazing nonprofit that works in Los Angeles and beyond. But basically, what they do is, I've seen schools. Many of our schools actually have already partnered with them, but they actually have bound books. At least when a class goes to their office, for a field trip, to their, they call it a storefront. And it's a pretty amazing storefront, by the way. It's not there for really selling things, but it's more kind of like an exhibit in itself. But basically, students get a workshop on writing, and then after this workshop, the staff, I don't know how they do it so quickly, but they actually take all of that, the writing, student writing, bind it into a book, and hand it to the students before they leave. And I mean, imagine that. I mean, the students are going home thinking that they're published writers. They are published writers, right? They even published a work on their website, in digital format. And I've got to read some of their stuff, and it's amazing. So I'm working with them so that maybe we can have a bound book, digital and physical, of students taking climate action, right, and telling their story about how they're making a positive impact in the world, in terms of climate change, right? And so if we can have that book, how amazing would that be, right? So that integrates language arts, writing, reading, everything. History, social studies could be integrated into that. Science, obviously, all the different subject areas get integrated into this project. Okay, so please keep an eye out on here for all of these amazing things. This is as you can see here, this is the LAUSD Climate Literacy Champions Schoology course. That's only for champions, that nobody is in right now, but you will be added to sometime next week. And then in here, I don't have it in here yet, but you will have the log. And let me see if I can I'll even show you how you get to the old one. So I'll show you last year's, my course. And then if we go into archived right here, then you'll see last year's courses. And here's the 2023-24 champions. And in here, you can see all the different resources that are available, but you can also see the logs that are assigned via Schoology Google Drive assignments. Okay, and so the fall log will be assigned to you very soon, and then the spring will be assigned next semester. All right. And these are all Google Docs that you can open up in the Google Doc, separately, in a separate tab, in a separate window. It'll be in your Google Drive for you to access at any time and work on. You don't have to go through Schoology to work on it. And again, all of that's going to be shared soon. All right. This is the actual log itself. Again, you can see here all the different like allowable entries. The categories are here, so it gives you an idea of what you can do. But again, if you want to go beyond what's there, then just email me and let me know. Okay. And then the audience, who is this work for? And this is not for yourself. It's not for your class. This is for the entire school or beyond, right? So it's all stakeholders, or it's staff, students, parents, community, and so forth, or even other champions, which we'll talk about some other time. And so a lot of exciting things. But again, this is important because we want to make sure that you all get paid the differential at minimum, right? Okay, and this is
Jerry,
again the explanation of benefits or the explanation of terms. Yes.
are you able to select more than one of those audiences, or just one?
So the audience, if it's going to be probably more than one, and you're going to be doing all school stakeholders,
Okay.
right? Unfortunately, it doesn't give me the option to do a checklist. Now, good idea though. I'm glad you asked. And then it doesn't have to be exact. So I would say if you can also just if you think it's mostly one, then choose that one, or you can do the all stakeholders. Okay. All right. So that's that, and I am going to stop here.